What up, y'all? In this video, we're going to talk about math. And before you immediately switch away, go, I don't want to hear math. I don't want to do math. I've already done the math for you. And this is useful math. It will save your life, save your businesses, and hopefully push you in a better direction. Short disclaimer, I'm not the richest guy in the world. I don't claim that I know everything. I just want to share my personal experience and hopefully it helps somebody come to some sort of realization along the way. So that's all the goal of this is. You can completely disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you say, you're an idiot, man. Okay, that's fine. That's fine with me. So let's get into it. My personal journey, I did over 5 million on Amazon. One of my best months, 200K in sales, 19K in profit. I think one month I actually did 300K in sales, but that was December. Margins are higher. Q4 is awesome for ecom. I will give that for its credit. Q4 is awesome for almost everything. Anyways, 19K in profit, you'd think that sounds awesome. It is pretty awesome. On paper, you make $20,000. But the important part, and the part that nobody shows you, is this revenue versus profit versus money in your bank comparison. You see revenue screenshots. And these days, that's kind of vanity. People go, okay, well, that's just revenue. What's the profit? Well, I'm asking you to go one level deeper. Don't even look at the profit. Don't ask what the profit is. How much money do you put in your bank? Because at that time, I was putting 4 grand in my bank, 5 grand in my bank, maybe a little bit more if I'm feeling like really risky, but you have to keep expanding the business. That's the nature of ecom inventory based businesses. If you want to grow the business, you have to spend more money. And you don't have to do that always. Okay. I guess I could have stayed at this number and just kept it consistent. But if you have a down month, what are you going to do? Put money back into the business. So kind of think about how all that works. And what are we here for? Are you trying to save the world? Then, okay, that's fine. Are you trying to grow some company and exit it for $50 million? Okay. But most of us are just trying to make a little bit of cash and put it in our banks. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm assuming you're here for. So that's what's the important number is how much money do you put in your bank account? Like if it was a job. So why is it like this? Why does this happen? This is the inventory trap of Amazon and ecom. If you've heard this before, just stick with me because hopefully I can bring up some decent points here. Then we'll get into better stuff. First off, 10% margin sounds okay. You're like, okay, I sell something for $100, I make $10. Not the best, but it's like the stock market. If I can do it more than the stock market, then I'm better off, right? If I can consistently do that. Well, there becomes problems when you realize how small a 10% margin really is in a business where you have to hold inventory. You have overhead costs. You have things like that. For example, if you have a $100 product, you sell it, you make the $10 on it. Somebody returns it and it's completely destroyed. You can't salvage this. You lose that $100 cost of goods sold. You lost 10 units of profit. If each unit of profit is $10 on this thing, you've lost 10 units now from one being destroyed. So just do the math on that. It's ridiculous. Like, how are you supposed to outrun the math on that happening? Unless you have really, really dialed in back end systems or you take on debt, which I wasn't really comfortable doing. So it makes it extremely difficult for one, you to get rich at all, but also just get even somewhat well off, where you're actually making an income where you don't have to also go to your job or also do something else to pay for your life. And the next big problem comes when you try to scale. Ideally, you get better and better, your margins go up. It's easier to find stuff, but that's almost never how it goes. The more you scale, the more your margin goes down. And ideally, you would put in $100 and you would get 20% ROI out, and then you'd end up getting like a 10% margin. I believe that's probably the math on it. It's been a long time. But you would hope that happens. But what's going to happen as it goes on is it'll be 18% ROI, 15% ROI, et cetera. It just keeps going down as time goes on because that's just how you scale. You have to suffer a little bit in quality if you're going to make it back in volume. And that would be the whole goal of it. So overall, you can't really spend money freely. You can't really live this life you think you can live when you're making all this profit because you're just a month away from everything exploding. 1 month and you don't hit that margin and you have all that invested in the business, or you take a huge $20,000 loss, $30,000 loss, which can happen easily. You lose inventory or things like that show up. You send the wrong product. Okay, well, now your margin's completely tanked, completely wiped out. And that's how I felt. I felt the bigger I grew this thing, the less freedom I have, the more worry I have, like harder to sleep at night. And I've heard a lot of people express the same concern. And is that really what you want to experience? Is that really what you want on your head all the time? I don't know. Not me personally. And when I say ecom, I say Amazon. Well, if you're doing private label, you're doing, Shopify type stuff, but you really have a brand and you're not just drop shipping, or you're not just doing online arbitrage or wholesale, things like that, which wholesale, maybe that has an argument to it. You can sell that to some extent, but if you're doing something where you're just arbitraging something, you don't have a moat, you don't have a brand, I don't know. I don't know if the argument is really there for it in today's age. With the other stuff, you can sell the company, so the margin doesn't matter as much. But even if you're going the private label, like start your brand route, it's more difficult for sure. And it also requires a ton of capital, a ton of debt. But you can sell the company for $1 billion or whatever. Like you can sell it for a huge multiple of what you actually made. So that's just if you're the type of person who wants to do that, then it's definitely worth it. But you will have to take on debt. So what my next conclusion was, and wrongly mostly, is this organic digital product dream. You just post content, you build your audience, you sell your digital product, and you just collect money forever. And this is just a big marketing thing. You see this with the reels, and you see just post this AI TikTok content. It sounds awesome. Okay, no inventory, no fulfillment, high margin. You don't really have to touch it. But the problem is the timeline. How long is that going to take? The control you have over it. Maybe you make $1,000, $2,000 because you go viral one time, but can you replicate that again? Do you even know why you went viral? Those things are difficult. I was getting 1 million to 2 million views every video I posted on an account I ran a few years ago and sold nothing. Like there were no sales, and I was getting 50,000 people viewing my profile. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's because I didn't have the best offer there. But also the traffic I was getting, just foreign countries that didn't have any money to spend, younger people who weren't going to buy stuff online like that. And I'll give this caveat again. There are people that make this stuff work. Absolutely. But I'm just giving you from my experience, what's the best chance that you make something work? And I've found very few people that have made that specific situation work. And technically I'm doing this now. I'm recording this content. Hopefully it builds over time and I can make money from it one day. But I fully know what I'm getting into there. And I'm not trying to live off of this. Okay, this isn't trying to be my full-time income. I already have that. So take that into consideration. And I'm fully not thinking I will make a full-time income off of it for a long time. And this is a personal brand. This is me attached to this thing, much less a faceless TikTok, faceless Instagram thing. That makes it entirely so much more difficult. Not that it's impossible, like I said, but it's hard. Why have I decided that digital products and paid ads is the best thing for someone to do? Why do I do this? Because number one, your margin is high. You have an 80, 90% margin plus on these products. Ideally, it's like 97%. You just pay your payment processing because you don't have to have a lot to fulfill it. Now, if you get into higher levels, you do high ticket, you do community stuff, maybe you have to hire people and that has fulfillment cost on it. But simple digital products, very high margin. You have a direct response lever to it, which if you don't know what direct response is, you are, like it says, eliciting a direct response from a customer, from the audience. You show someone something and you're looking for a direct response back with a measurable result from your advertisement. Hey, I have this thing. You market it in the way you want to. You can see how many people clicked on that thing, how many people purchased that thing, and make decisions based on those statistics. That's the difference between direct response and like branding. If you don't know that, you can Google direct response. You're going to know that stuff if you want to do things like this. So you might as well Google it. Not yet, but after the video. Next thing is the refund math is completely different. Where you don't have a fulfillment cost, if you have to refund somebody, it's much easier because you don't actually have to deal with shipping. You don't have to deal with your cost of goods sold. Your CAC just goes up. Your cost to acquire a customer just goes up. And that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. And a lot of times you can talk someone out of a refund like this. This is a difference between, and I'm sure people do this on the physical product side as well. But on the digital product side, you can say, hey, you can have this other product that we have. Or are you sure? I don't want you to give up on this thing. You can talk like that because somebody's already made a emotional decision to buy this piece of air, this thing that doesn't really exist. It's like this digital thing. You can probably emotionally talk them into staying or trying to at least use the product, at least use whatever you have given them as a solution to their problem. But then if it doesn't work, okay. So you see my thought process walking through that. You're never going to do that with ecom. Somebody's pissed, they're just press and return, especially Amazon. You can return in 2 seconds. You have to pay shipping, all that stuff. And like I've talked about, you don't need an audience, you don't need a following, you don't need a personal brand. All that stuff's good. If you want to stack the faceless digital product type thing, but instead do it with a personal brand, your results will be much, much better. Obviously, there's a higher trust factor in that, but not necessarily needed. Think about all the businesses in the world. How many of them have faces? Yeah, these days you have the Logan Paul, the Mr. Beast type stuff, but most businesses don't have a face. What's the face of Tide? What's the face of whatever computer I'm on? HP. They're not the face of that company. Those are just entities, which is what you want your digital product to be. And the final thing we're going to talk about, the quantum scale moments. And this is something that happened to me years ago. And I didn't really understand how important this was when it comes to any kind of make money online opportunity. But I went viral, very viral, someplace on the internet, and I was able to turn that into a lot of cash, like very quickly. And I could have turned it into over $1 million easily if I knew what I was doing. And ideally, if I knew what I knew now. But who knows? You never know how those situations are always going to play out. But overall, every other model has a ceiling that has some kind of like limit just due to the fulfillment capacity you have. If your restaurant, for example, goes viral, you can only fulfill on so many customers. You only have so much meat, you only have so much lettuce, whatever. No, you can get that every day. It's not like that's not amazing. You see those lines of like 100 people long all day. Yeah, those people are making tons of money. But there isn't this infinite ability to scale based off this excess traffic that's came in. A quick example here is, let's say you have a mom sleep guide thing. She buys this thing. She tries it. She gets her kid to go to sleep. She posts it to her Facebook and her Instagram. She's got like 4,000, 8,000 friends. And a lot of those people have babies. Okay, they're looking for that same solution. 10% of people convert. 20% of people convert. It's probably going to be lower, but let's just say that. You can make $3, $5, $10, $20,000. If you know your LTV, if you know how much you can get out of a customer, say you can get $150 out of this customer over time, and you get 400 people to convert, like think about how much money that is. And you don't have to do anything to fulfill on that. That system's already in place. So any kind of excess traffic you get is good. You just have this machine, you throw traffic at the machine converts. That's how you really kind of got to look at it in your head. Now, is that going to happen to you? Probably not. But in the case that it does, you want to be able to take advantage of those situations. You don't want to be the viral guy who got 18 million views and nothing happened. He didn't make a buck off of it. What's the point of getting all those views? That's only problems in your life. You might as well take advantage of those views in some way. And like the restaurant example, physical products just can't do that. You'll run out of inventory if you go viral. That happens to brands all the time. And is that a bad thing? No. You've ran out of inventory, you've got all your profit, you make your next order. But there does become problems with that even as well. You have a viral moment. Let's just give a very basic example. I know someone who had a tea brand, and they had $10,000 of inventory at a time, the whole brand, about $10,000 of cost of goods sold. They have this on Amazon. Kendall Jenner posts a video of her drinking this specific tea. It all sells out immediately in an hour. So they order a ton more, $80,000 for the tea. Well, Kendall Jenner never makes another post about it, and they can't afford her. Now, they didn't know they could pay other influencers to that, but that doesn't mean you can replicate that specific moment. So then they're stuck with $80,000 in inventory. And he's talking to me and he's like, how do I even get rid of this? I go, I don't know, man. That's not even what I do. This was years ago. But now I realize the magnitude of that situation. All that profit you made is all gone because now you're stuck on $80,000 worth of tea that no one's going to buy for 2 years. So that's the stuff you got to consider when it comes to physical products or anything where your cost of fulfillment is high. So the main point, every model has a version of this math that sounds good. And I'm sure you can poke holes into the digital product meta ads math. And to be clear, this math works for tons of people. I'm not the richest, even close. There are guys way richer than me that would just wipe the floor with me talking about this. But just based on what I've seen, I think for the average person, this is the best way to go to try to make money. Most people only see the revenue, they only see the profit. But what matters is the money in your bank account. So I know this was a bit of a long one. Maybe I rambled too much, but hopefully you did the math. Hopefully you learned something. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace.